G'day. It's for real this time. How is everyone? Is everyone ready on a Tuesday night for some fun? So Global Accessibility Awareness Day is on Thursday. So we're going early and celebrating early. And stoked to be doing this in collaboration with our friends at Atlassian and Remarkable. And Max is coming up early. So this is SydDT number 126. And to kick off, get us on the right screen. Just want to acknowledge that we're on Gadigal country and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. So we don't get to do this every month without the support of some great collaborators and sponsors. So a huge thanks to Atlassian for hosting us again. Pavel's going to be speaking, so he'll give a quick shout out to Atlassian then. As I mentioned, we're doing this one in collaboration with Remarkable as well, so we're going to hear from them soon too. And I'm Ben from Dynamic 4 and Sydney Design Thinking. So at Dynamic 4, we specialise in working alongside leaders and their teams to work on really complex challenges across strategy, design and tech. If that sounds interesting, come on over here. Every month, a little crew of us lovingly bring this to you. So we've got Lucas, and we've got Kate, and Kylie can't make it tonight, but hopefully she'll be here next month.
You still get to clap though.
Of course, thank you, Kylie. Because next month is our 11th birthday. That's me. Easy to forget, but thanks. So next month is our 11th birthday.
Wow.
And Kate's the lead one on this one, so she's going to give us a quick shout out of what's coming up.
Yes, so next month we'll be meeting on Thursday, June the 11th, and we're actually meeting in the new ThoughtWorks office, which we're very excited about.
Woo!
Had about 4 months for that office, so it's just on George Street, quite close to Circular Quay, super easy to get to. So please join us. We're going to be talking about, well, the topic is the human loop, keeping the customer at the core of AI. And I think we've all seen the temptation to just use AI products to really rapidly create code and spin up ideas and just accelerate them to market. It's just so easy to do now. And when code is that cheap, it's very tempting to skip a few essential steps, which involves validating that you're solving a real problem for someone and testing with humans. So that's going to be the topic. We've got some great speakers lined up. We have, I'm not sure if Riley and Alex are here tonight. I don't think they are, but regulars at Sydney Design Thinking, and Tara and Kristen. So these design leaders all have AI in their job descriptions and have been doing this for a while now. So please come along. It should be a super interesting session. There'll be talks and a panel and lots of opportunities for you to ask all the questions. So yeah, come along to that.
Thank you. And you forgot to say, and there'll be cupcakes.
Oh, it's our birthday! it's
The big draw card.
Birthday.
Awesome. Thank you. And Lucas, tell us a tale about something we're exploring.
So with our partners and we actually have a few design meetups across Australia, not we as in we own it, but we co-create and collaborate with Byron Design Thinking, Melbourne Design Thinking, Adelaide Design Thinking. So Byron actually ran a really cool AI design thinking challenge a couple of months ago. Will Stewart ran it. We're going to collaborate with Will. We're going to bring that to Sydney. We're looking at probably doing that in July. We're talking to sponsors at the moment, so we haven't got details yet, so just keep that in mind. Just to give a bit of context as to how it's going to run. So we normally partner with like a community organisation or a not-for-profit, or maybe in Sydney context we might do it with many, or a few, not many, but we'll curate some opportunities and we'll solve a design problem for that community organisation. And Will's built out a really great platform to make it a really engaging, both from a facilitation perspective, but also with a bit of tech to make it really, really fun. So keep an eye out for it, but we're targeting July at this point in time. Woo!
Awesome, so that's some stuff coming up. This is number 126, so this is a regular thing, it's at least one a month. Sometimes it's more than one a month. So this is your first time to a SydDT? What are our hands like? Maybe 20%? Who's been to loads? About again? Who's been here in the last 3 years? The balance, and then there's probably some undisclosed donkey votes in there as well. It's always interesting to see the different mix of who's here. So the way tonight's going to work, we've got a pretty solid lineup. We're going to kick off with Kath and Kate talking about Remarkable. You thought you were going to get away. Look, your mugshot's up there. You have to be up here. So sharing a little bit about Remarkable, but then we'll have some of the founders in the current Remarkable launcher cohort. They're going to share a little bit of a story or a pitch. So we're going to have a few of those. And then Pavel's going to have a chat from Atlassian Accessibility team. And then Kath is going to host a panel with Carolyn and Max at the end. So you can't sneak out partway through because it's solid all the way through. And then
you
after
can go
this,
to the bar.
Yeah, well, I was going to say after this we do go to the bar. So this is only part one. We'll be going to the pub, probably the Occidental again. That's the easiest one to get into after this. So play on. And
what happens here that you can't
it's loud.
Ben's
and
got a reputation.
Yeah.
a good one at the Occidental. They give me
Not that kind.
a referral code. So to kick us off, Remarkable. So I've had the pleasure of working with the Remarkable team since 2016, since the first cohort. Been a mentor since cohort 1. Went through as a co-founder in cohort 2 on social enterprise with my co-founder Timon back in 2017. Been a mentor all the way through, and then also a coach on the Remarkable Launcher program as well. So love what Remarkable do. My main role at Remarkable is to be cheer squad for Remarkable as an organisation, and then all the founders and people that come through. It's an awesome ecosystem. So you'll probably get lots of us. I hope you get lots of us. Hopefully you meet a bunch of the founders. And there's always ways to get involved, which I'm sure will come out through the convo as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tag out and just reappear at the end and then at the pub. And I'm handing over to Kate. Awesome. Yay!
So you give me a microphone and you hand it off me.
Pub time.
But I am the official cheerleader of Remarkable, so it's a bit awkward that Ben thinks that that's his job. But I look after community and partnerships, which we have this awesome community of alumni. Ben is from our, he started as a mentor, then went and became a startup. Kath is a startup. And Max, you'll meet lots of these people. So everyone is pretty incredible. And once you get sucked into the Remarkable community, you cannot get out. Am I right? So we've been running programs since 2016, as Ben said, and we've now just finishing. We're in the final. We just had the final masterclass today of the 12-week pre-accelerator called Launcher that Kath has just run. And so we've now accelerated 211 startups over these.
Exclusively Kate for disability tech.
She's reading my mind. And so these startups, they're all working on incredible innovations. It's technology. They're not working. We're a not-for-profit, but everyone that's generally most of the startups we have working with this are building yes, well, Max will differ with me, but building organisations that are scalable, and that's why we focus on tech, because tech can be a scalable solution and reach more people. So it's all about having a positive impact on people with disability, getting that technology out into the hands of people that need it. So I'm going to hand over to Kath. She's going to press play on a video and steal the microphone away from me.
It all began with a simple belief that technology could and should help everyone live the kind of life they want to live. That innovation could open doors, that inclusion could be designed into every line of code, every product, every company. And we set out to find the builders, the dreamers, the founders with the courage to recognise that disability has always been a driver of innovation. It's a living reminder that necessity is truly the mother of all invention. Together, we've helped make therapy more playful and engaging. We've made connection and care feel like family. And we've redefined beauty, fashion and style to include everyone. We've helped people move, we've helped people learn, work and live with greater freedom. We've created spaces where belonging isn't just an invitation, it's a benchmark. And we've seen technology open worlds, from classrooms to boardrooms, from beaches to mountain trails. And through it all, we've witnessed what happens when innovation meets inclusion. 10 years, hundreds of startups, thousands of lives impacted and millions more yet to be changed. This isn't just the story of a decade of impact. It's the story of people, of bold ideas and collective belief. Because this story, it's not just about us, it's about all of us. Together, we are remarkable.
So with that, I would like to introduce some of our launcher founders to come up, and they're going to share what they're building with you. So as Kate said, this is the end of a 12-week program. Launcher enables founders who have basically an idea. They have a way that they see the world and thinking to be better. And I can tell you that most of them are coming at it from a lived experience or an adjacent experience. So they've seen how someone can't access the world, can't engage in the world, and say, this can be better and I can do it. And that's pretty hard. So I think you'll hear from these founders as they come up and tell you about their the startups. They have the courage, obviously, but they've done deep user research. So we're going to talk with Carolyn and Max later on at how they've really engaged the end users. And how you can think about designing with constraint, and that really informs a more inclusive built environment, active environment, and technology is really a way to reduce that friction. So please listen to how they engage. It's not easy, and how Atlassian is very fortunate to have a larger team that can focus on this, but many of you, I'm sure, do not have that as part of your organizations. So we'll explore how you can think about that when you don't have some of the access, how you can engage people with lived experience to inform how to build inclusive products with some of the constraints. So listen to our founders here. We've got, first up, I think we've got you, Josh. So please come and share. Are we hand miking or?
The phone should be active as well.
Alright, first up. Thanks for having me, everyone. I'm Josh, co-founder and CEO of Squidly. Gabriel. I'm here with Gabriel, co-founder and CTO. We both come from engineering and design backgrounds. Ben mentioned I have a few minutes, so I thought I'd actually just spruce up my pitch a bit, talk about something maybe a bit more interesting as well. So, hence the notes as well. There we go. Cool. I usually talk to clinicians and occupational therapists, and I've been looking forward to this one for a different reason. Squidly is a design story as much as it is a clinical one. A quick show of hands. Whoever's comfortable with it, who here is over the age of 25 years old? Okay, wow. Fantastic. I usually give this to uni students and there's a bit more of cool. You were born pre-modern video calling. Video calling is about 25 years old. Okay. And that's pretty recent, really. And I think there's going to be a meaningful notch in the timeline as we look back on things about video calling right about there. With video calls, we still get kind of some of these awkward little rituals, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, like, hello, can you hear me? Yes, I'm there, hello, testing, testing, oh shit, I'm on mute, those sorts of things there. That's not ancient history. We're still early in this communication medium, because it is a new medium. But the physical clinic room is not just a clinic and a client, okay? It has turn-taking, eye gaze, eye contact, a way of waiting, a way of pointing, a way of knowing who's in control of the room. And telehealth has to rebuild all of that out of a camera and a browser and buttons and permissions and interface decisions. And so those decisions carry assumptions that the person can speak, they can click, they can switch tabs, they can read quickly, they can recover from errors, keep up. So if that model fits, telehealth feels relatively fine. If it doesn't, so if you're someone with a communication or physical access need, or someone with disabilities, care can fail before the real work even begins inside the session. During COVID, Squidly started as an IGIS project with the Cerebral Palsy Alliance and the University of Sydney, and we were a bit of a scrappy engineering time at the time with a bit of experience. And the question was, we were first approaching was actually really technical. It was about eye gaze. How can we make eye gaze work reliably inside remote therapy? It's eye gaze. Okay, but the real question, real use, true kind of co-design approach taught us a bigger question, was about participation. You know, what happens to joining if someone can't use a mouse? Or what happens to turn-taking if someone communicates through a specialized device? Those are not just clinical questions. They are juicy UX and design questions. So we built Squidly with that in mind, kind of the other way around. So instead of just bolting on accessibility, we designed this around participation from the start, designed it into the architecture. And I think telehealth is also in a really rare moment at the moment. Well, rare moment. We're not yet fighting hundreds of years of legacy design decisions. You know, we, Squidly, the people in this room, still get to decide what remote care becomes. You know, whether it's just yet another system that quietly excludes and pushes people out of it unless they fit these defaults, or whether it becomes a system that assumes this variation, this alternate access from the start. And so at Squidly, that's what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to build another piece of software. We are trying to design remote care around participation, so that people can communicate, make choices, and take part in their own care and on their own terms. One of our first users with cerebral palsy, who's an eye gaze user, said, for the first time using Squidly, I can talk to my therapist privately without someone standing over my shoulder. And tonight, what I'd love is to talk with web designers or people fascinated in accessibility, anyone who wants to maybe try Squidly, talk to us about this, what some of the similar things we're thinking about, learn more, or even potentially explore collaborations with engineers. So thanks.
Mark and Nadine are ready for you.
Thanks, Josh. Amazing.
Mark's going to stay over there.
Yeah,
You've got the control, as always, Nadine. Oh, of course I do. Oh, would you like to do this? No? So we just wanted to do a quick intro before we jump into Visitex. So I'm Nadine, this is Mark. We own a Aboriginal NDIS, we're an Aboriginal NDIS provider. So we are based in Dubbo. We service Dubbo, LGAs and Northwest regions, so out to the remote and rural communities, to the Aboriginal communities out there. And the services that we do is support coordination, community access, consultancy, or with the culturally appropriate support. So we have been in the industry for over 10 years now. But yeah, I think this is where we kind of went into what can be better. And this is what we come up with. I haven't worked one of these before, so let's go. Oh, here we go. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, so welcome to Visitex. Visitex pays respect to traditional custodians of the land where we meet today. I'd like to acknowledge all the elders, past and present, and may the guidance of our elders lead us to the right path.
The problem statement is that support workers are buried in admin across multiple systems, taking time away from participants and lowering care quality.
Solution offered. Visitex is an all-in-one platform that automates admin and unifies the workflow, freeing up time, improving accuracy, and delivering better care.
So the unique value proposition is that Visitex replaces multiple disconnected systems with one platform that by integrating scheduling, documentation, compliance, and communication tools, with the goal of automating admin and streamlining workflows to improve efficiency and care outcomes, helping both support workers and the people they care for.
Yeah, so what we've got here is one of the, my workers dashboard. And right there you can just tell just all the different features that it has at the moment. My favourite, I like the report one, but mine is the wellbeing up and mental health checking for support workers. Because we know a lot of support workers do get burnt out, and that's one thing I really want to do is that.
So we actually use this app with our staff as well. So we have a daily check-in with our staff. So that wellbeing hub is so good to get a kind of how they're feeling for the day. And open for a yarn talk about that too. So.
In here we got the organisation dashboard, and at the top on the side there's the features over there, and one of my favourite ones over there is the AI, where it tracks the behaviour of our clients. So it just collects the data and sends off an alert when the client is almost at the time of a bad behaviour.
So let's build busy care. Let's build better care together. Join us in building Visitex, reduce admin and improve care across the disability sector. We're looking for investors to help scale the Accelerator growth, NDIS providers to partner with and pilot the platform, advisors with sectors in tech or compliance expertise, and referrals to organisations ready for a smarter system.
And thanks for your time, Mark.
One that wasn't clear to everyone, Mark, is who designed and developed this system?
It was me. I just yeah, I just wanted to get my support workers out, and like I knew that there was a lot of people that would have been good support workers, and they didn't really want to get into the industry with the amount of report writing they had to do. And so what I done was I simplified it, and I spoke to the right bloke, at least up the back, and yeah, it all happened from there.
This was an idea, and
It was just an idea on the paper for me, just help me out support workers.
So what I love about the approach you took, Mark, and many of us here have done a lot of training in design thinking, methodologies, user experience. You started from helping people who didn't have any experience in support work. You gave them a bit of paper with some instructions that turned into a spreadsheet and then turned into an automated system and a helping system. He's gone through the thinking that we've all been trained on naturally. Yeah. Systems thinker, a design thinker, solving a problem.
Yeah. I had support workers coming in and picking up pieces of paper from the office and with templates on it.
And so also, may I add, I also work for one of the biggest disability companies in Australia, and when I work with people who had, multi-million-dollar packages, so their behaviours were very complex, and we had 5 different tools that we had to use to report. And you don't get you don't get the real-time accuracy about it. This here, it does. So we got the special features on there. I'm happy to have a yarn with this after this because I know we have time. She's ready to take the mic off me. We're happy to have a talk about it. But yeah, some really cool features, and like I said, we use it for our own business too. So.
No, I was going to ask about the well-being. So this is a really critical element. Talk about the difference of what your system does compared to when you work in the larger organisations and how you support your workers with this kind of system.
Well, there wasn't a system. There wasn't a system for staff in the big disability companies. It was just, I was burnt. You get burnt out, and literally, oh, do you want me over here? You don't have. There's no place like this. So there's no daily check-in. There's no wellbeing hub, and that was important to us because we've been in the industry for over 10 years, and we were burnt out. So I think this is coming from lived experience. And how we can simplify this for our staff, also have the best care, but it's also, it's the best care for them too, but it's also taking time back. It's taking time back for them and giving that time back to the participants. It's all about them. So that's what we've kind of created. And did you want to say anything?
Yeah, and the see how easy it is jumping on our showcase.
Oh yeah, it shows you screen recorder how easy it is to get a full report within under 2 minutes. Under a minute, actually.
Under a minute.
There we go.
So there you go. Thank you. Do you need help?
You want me to say?
Yeah, maybe.
Hi, I'm Kathleen, and I'm from Freedom Solutions Australia, and the project that we are having the launcher program with Remarkable is Safe Ride. So my Remarkable twisted on me. So if you can imagine getting in the car and being stressed because the child or loved one that you have just strapped into their car seat in the back has Houdini'd out and you're on the highway, they're looking forward and saying, hi. And they are in a 5-point harness. And they could be a child, they could be an adult, they could be anywhere on any spectrum of life. It could be elderly with dementia. It could be somebody who, you can think of situations. So we were facing a lot of questions around what can we do to keep our safe in the car, because it's so stressful now for me as a driver to even go out of the house. We didn't have any answers. So we pulled together a program and we looked at people with disability, carers, volunteers, which is the lifeblood of our organisation, and allied health professionals, and we took 20 months to co-design some solutions for road safety. And we came away with 5 different solutions, but the one that I'll talk about today is the harness. So we have a harness system because, of course, when we're talking with people with disability, we also don't want restrictive practice. But what is a seatbelt? You want them restricted. But what if you get in an accident and you've rigged something else up that is restrictive? Who can get them out? And if you're the driver and you know how to get them out, but you're actually too injured to get them out, there has to be a practice in place that somebody else can see what needs to be done. So the harness here, working in systematic and current 5-point harness systems to have a release button that is there, or, and it's not on this picture, because I actually didn't work on this project. I'm just filling in for someone tonight who is also on my team. There's a model that it could be, the release could be here in the feet or on the dashboard, and emergency services could be advised on how to release that back seat. So we have surveyed 500 people very recently, general public, not disability community, general public. So they could be disability, but we don't know. We kept it very open. 87% of respondents preferred the harness over their current seatbelt option for their people in their backseat. 82% were likely to purchase over their current design, current product that they had. And 52% would pay more for a design that we are working on. We have a prototype. We've had 2 prototypes tested, both failed. That's what they do. We're on the path, but we need people to help us get to the next stage of finalising that prototype. We need investors to take it to the next stage for manufacture, and we need to know how to market this thing and get it out there when we've got it. Any questions?
Thank you. Another round, please, of applause for our launcher founders. This is tough thing to do. Oh, perfect.
Want to be alrighty. That's me. You may remember me from downstairs. I was trying to get your eye contact, very awkwardly way, and whispering, "Are you here for design?" I want to talk about. So, first of all, welcome to Atlassian. I'm glad you are here. I'm glad we are here for such an amazing occasion like Global Accessibility Awareness Day. I don't think I have to introduce Atlassian, do I? We do teamwork, yeah? We do teamwork software. These days, everything is about AI, also us. Yes, we do a lot of AI stuff. We have our assistant called Rovo. I won't be featuring it today, but this talk is going to be about AI. We can't escape it, yeah? So we have to talk about AI. So I would like to talk about automating accessibility annotations in prototypes. Yeah. Can you put your hand up if you ever worked in a design tool? Figma, Sketch, Photoshop? Okay, many of you. Perfect. Have you ever had a chance to annotate a design for accessibility? Some of you? Yeah? Not everybody? Okay, so let's start with this. I think we can all agree with this statement. Every design is iteration. Yeah? But there is the part we don't talk about. Accessibility isn't iterative. It's usually somewhere at the end. We want it at left as possible, but we never do it. It's usually somewhere at the end of the design process, just before the handoff. And when you ask designers, and probably if you ever have to annotate a design, you would agree with these 3 things. Yeah. So what makes accessibility annotations hard? It's never the right moment to start annotating. Yeah. Early annotations, you don't early annotate because the design will always change. Yeah? So you don't want to annotate too early. At the same time, I love annotating sketches. Yeah. So I sketch. When I sketch, I already annotate. Here's a heading. Here's a button. Here's something. Yeah. I like that, but not everybody does that. Secondly, annotations always need reworking. Yeah. If you change your design, if you have a new version, new content, it always changes, so it's hard to keep up. And first of all, if you try to keep up, if you're really good with annotations, if you annotate a lot, you end up with a lot of layers of annotations on top of annotations of their designs, and you never know which one is correct one and which one is not. Now scale that. Yeah, you're having next versions of your design. You add a button, you add a content, you change it. Version 5, final. You know the drill, yeah? From the past. Now imagine it's like 20, 40, 60, 100 iterations. And when you vibe code, when you vibe code the prototype, every prompt is an iteration. Yeah, it's the next iteration. Sometimes it's something very small. You ask an agent to change a content on a button. Sometimes it reworks everything and it creates something completely different. Yeah, and in vibe coding, annotations can't keep up in the current form that we are trying to make them. Yeah, and the problems, it won't be linear. It will multiply. It will try multiply. So I came up with a solution for that. Obviously, it's an empty file. Everything is an empty file these days, yeah? Everything has to be an empty file, maybe HTML, we don't know yet, but currently it's an empty file. It's an empty file that has only annotations for your prototype. It's a file that agent reads and writes on every turn of making a UI. And it confirms the present and it informs the future. It's a companion file to any prototype, plain markdown without anything special. It behaves like a config, but also reads like a document, sitting alongside your code. And inside you have a couple of sections that are predefined from the most outer one, which is landmarks, through headings, structure, images, forms. In forms you have controls, then live regions, and then reading order and focus as behavior, and then notes at the end. In the current form, it looks more or less like this. Yeah. So at the beginning, we define the weaker target. Then we go through all of the sections. Here we have landmarks with quick explanation, and then the only thing you have to do is bullet points and just a role and area label or accessible label. Yeah. You can add more stuff. For example, like here, you can instead of doing H2, you can combine them and just write them together. Yeah. You can have some prose or some additional information like here. It's very easy to read by the agent and also by a human. Next. Okay. Let's see that file at work. Yeah. So imagine you have 3 iterations, but the agent already was doing the work from the first iteration. Yeah. So it was already writing that document down. And then let's say in the 3rd iteration you want to introduce a modal dialog. So the agent builds it, and then when it finishes, it goes to the file and it writes down all the information about that dialog, but it also writes down that this dialog has a close button with the label close dialog. Yeah? You work on the dialog, you create more iterations, you change the content, you add more buttons maybe, some scrolling, but that close button information is still in that file, yeah, and it keeps being used in the next iterations. And then 2 iterations later, you want to introduce another modal dialog, so that the agent can use already that information that is written in that file, yeah. And then at the end, when you finish, you can use that file in Figma. You can use that file in your own environment in Cursor or something else, or you can give it to your engineer because it's human readable, so they can read it and they can implement it in your feature. So I said it's an empty file, but in general, I mean, in detail, it's actually it's 3 things. So first of all, it needs to be a skill. Yeah, it needs to be a skill. Then you need to provide instructions to your agent, either Claude or any other agent, through agents.md file, probably the best idea. And then the 3rd thing is the template. And when I was testing it, I noticed that when you put that template inside, even if it's empty, you get better results because the agent knows how to populate specific sections. But it's also not some of the things. Because the agent reads it and and writes it on every turn, the file needs to be as small as possible. Yeah, so it cannot be very long because it adds to your context window. So it's not a WCAG checklist. There is no requirements in that file. The only thing that it has is the target on the top. It's not a component spec. So all component specs usually would live in an MCP server somewhere else. We have, for example, our own MCP server for design system in Atlassian, and all of the component information goes from there. It's not an approval tracker. It's not a Git. It's not version. That is handled by Replit, Figma Make, or any other tool for versioning. Yeah? It's not a schema, so it probably won't have a lot of IDs and a lot of very specific programmatic elements. But at the same time, it can help. Like if let's say if you feel like there is a need to point area label to a specific ID, you can do it. But usually it will be pros. And it's not a whole code-based manifest. It's just for that one prototype. And I tested it with these instructions. So I created like a prompt for to build a prototype, and I added this couple of lines to it. And you know what happened? It not only added annotations, it considered accessibility from the beginning. Because annotations is a tool to make sure that you consider accessibility on different stages of your design process. Yeah? And when you point agent to a skill with annotations and with that structure where you have landmarks, buttons, controls, all of the elements that you usually care about for accessibility, it actually takes it from the beginning, and you don't have to mention accessibility ever again because it knows it has to use the file to write down accessibility and then read it to inform the future decisions. I tested it multiple times, and all the results were very similar except one. Once the agent actually started with writing annotations before it designed, which was crazy. Yeah, I don't know how to replicate it yet, but yes, thank you, buddy. Yeah, so it's exactly what it does exactly what I want for what any designer in Atlassian has asked me for the last 4 or 5 years. We want to be able to automate accessibility annotations and all of the information about accessible design spec from the beginning without even thinking about it, automate. And that file does that. Oh, sorry. Too much excitement. If you want to try it, I'm not a person who launches stuff. I'm a person who works usually in the back, and I don't get out and wave to people. I put it on GitHub. Check it on GitHub. Add star if you can add a star. If you like it, if you can like it, that would mean a lot to me. Check it on GitHub. Download it. Try it in your organization because I think this will change accessible design. I'm pretty sure. I just want people to start using it. Thank you very much. That's me. Any questions? I don't know if I probably don't have time. Sorry,
I've got a
Ben.
question.
Yeah.
How long did it take you, like from the beginning of your process, right to get to this point? How long? Like months?
So last week. It happened last week. All of that happened last week. I didn't sleep for 7 days. Literally. You know what happened? I broke my phone. I had to give my phone to Apple, and they took it overnight, and I didn't have a phone for 12 hours. And I invented that. At that time, I was walking through CBD home, and I was like, I don't have anything to do today. Amazing. Yeah, it took me a week. So this is very early.
Wow.
I tested it with couple of, not many, like a dozen of prototypes. I'm now testing inside Atlassian as well. So TBD for next versions, but I think it has something. There's something there.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. There it's that. First, I just want to ask you if you have worked, raise your hand, if you've worked directly with people with lived experience of disability in designing your products. Right, that's pretty good. Literally half the room. That's good. That's more than we would see generally. Perfect. So, Carolyn, please, I think if you click, we should get you. Perfect. Introduce Sound Scouts, and then Max, you give a background of your experience, and then we're going to have a bit of a yarn. So, please interrupt at any stage after these guys have introduced themselves with any questions that we can chat about too.
Thanks for that introduction. My name is Carolyn Mee, and I'm the founder of Sound Scouts. And Sound Scouts is, in short, a digital hearing health company. When it comes to accessibility, I guess I think about accessibility in a number of ways, in terms of price, performance, and also proximity. So can I afford the solution? Can I access the solution? Is it close to me? And can I work it? And so those are the issues that we look to address in developing Sound Scouts. I'm going to make a community announcement here. This microphone, when you're at events such as this or any event, it's so important to use the microphone. So you might be in the crowd and think you have a loud voice, but someone might be using a loop, or you might be hearing lately about Auracast. They might be like, you can actually use Auracast, which is a broadcasting system with a commercial Bluetooth headphone. So please always, we're here to think about and talk about accessibility. Never turn away from using a microphone, because you're cutting someone else's access to what you're saying. So that's my community service announcement. Thank you. So yeah, look, in terms of Sound Scouts, we've been around for quite a number of years. I like to refer to myself as the tortoise. I'm like slow and steady, and hopefully, I have to say I have succeeded. Hopefully I succeed even further, but we've delivered hearing screenings to nearly 250,000 people, test results, yeah, so thank you. We've identified many children and adults with hearing loss. We started with a focus on children, and in the last few years we've expanded into aged care. And really, as part of the aged care development, we've done that, we sort of, very purposefully looked at user-centered design. So we went into aged care facilities, we sat with older people with mild cognitive issues, and we really looked at how they interacted with our solution to determine if it was fit for purpose and what we needed to change and address to make it suitable. I think I'll just make one other point, is that our range of solutions, we have screening, diagnostic solutions for audiology, and we're also building a treatment solution for listening difficulties in noise. And so our technology is being used around the world and being used by universities, and we get assessed on our accessibility. And I think it's true to say that we've, addressed these things later in the piece, but it's really interesting now. It's not a nice to have as a business, it's a must have. So you must address the accessibility of your solutions. So I think that's interesting.
Perfect. Thanks, Carolyn. Max, do you want the clicker?
Thank you. Right, hello, I'm Max Burt. I'm the part of a not-for-profit charity gate called WheelEasy. I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, but first, the reason I started WheelEasy was that it's born from my life experience. But it was really because it never ceased to amaze me the lengths which some wheelchair users with mobility impairment go to get a better view? Yeah. Okay, it's sort of GP relieves that often. It's very difficult enough for getting into this bodybuilding, the ceiling, for example. And that thing on there, it's been like that for years now. It hasn't really changed. 9 in 10 people have a real problem, like me, have a real problem finding access information. Here in the developed world, in Australia particularly, physical access is a lot better, there's no doubt about that. But what's the point in making something accessible if no one knows about it? It's the information, the access information, which is equally, if not more important than the physical access. So it was really, that's a background to why I started WheelEasy. It's, as I said, it's an access information web app. It's a one-stop shop for information about the things everywhere you want to go and everything you want to do a day out or a trip away. And I'll leave it there for the moment.
Perfect.
Better to safely.
Max, I want to start with. Oh, yep, go for it if you want to speak about that.
Sorry, the side. So I sent you the website, but actually what it has inside the app is access information on individual places. So that there is, I think, is Manly. Every place within a defined area there has access information verified by people with lived experience. And I really will live for that.
Perfect. So Max, tell us.
One more.
Oh, one more? Perfect. There we go. Of course, because you can't see us here. Need to have us reinforce, yeah. So Max, starting with you, people might not understand, and this is what we want to get to the heart of, the lived experience. So this amazing iBot chair that you've got here, that must be easy just to get on an airplane and go travelling?
I know his name. It really is no surprise that I saw that you rarely see wheelchair users on airplanes, unless they can move some distance. It's very, very unusual, and I'll tell you, I had said I wouldn't say this, but to the woman at Qantas, but I will tell you, I was in London in January this year, and I turned up at the second desk, tried checking, and because it just turned to 2026, around 25, my clearance paperwork for my battery in this chair was out of date, and it was too late to get a new one in because it was after office hours in Australia, so I literally couldn't get out and play.
Yeah, so not only the physical space of moving around in a wheelchair and that being not really accessible, also just the way the structures, the machinery, everything is quite challenging. The question that I have for you, I think everyone can kind of believe that, but how can designers think about these unseen or unknown? I mean, there's no way that people, I think, can imagine they can see the physical, a physical wheelchair. They can imagine, okay, we're getting from there to there. We can all see, okay, how's Max gonna get there? How's Oliver going to move around? We can kind of imagine that. We've got a good imagination. How can designers think about building for inclusion, designing for inclusion?
Well, sorry, do you want me to?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, air travel is a particularly challenging subject. I mean, you can get on trains, you can get on coaches, you can get on buses, you can get in taxis. That one form of public transport you can't get on these airplanes. And that is not it's not due to lack of thought that's gone into design. It is a commercial decision by airlines, unfortunately. So I know we are here talking about designing the solutions until the airlines actually everyone involved in air travel realizes that it costs more to fly a person who is we're not going to get anywhere.
Sure. If we're to extrapolate it out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key thing is when you're designing that you have to have, you know, the people with the needs, the accessibility needs in the room. And you need to, you know, it's very hard to be an expert on everything. So it's really about bringing together the people who are experts and the people who have lived experiences and listening to them and putting your own biases to the side, because we all have assumed knowledge, and it's really important to put that to the side and to listen to the people who have that lived experience. And sometimes I think as designers, you know, you probably think, oh, I've got this great idea, that's wonderful and it's going to look fabulous and this, that and the other, but is it practical? Is it workable? Does it meet the needs of the person, you know, that you're designing for?
Yeah, building it into the ways of experiencing the world. I mean, we hear that, I'm sure, with Squidly and Visitex as well, thinking about that workflow of clinicians. So we've got a great solution, but is it going to actually fit into their ways of working? Similar for, you know, people coming to you, Max, with great ideas, but are they going to actually, you know, it's like, just give me this tiny little simple thing.
Yeah, it is a really challenging thing for making the user's journey through returning up the airport to even making it. I mean, it involves redesigning every leg of every part of the journey, because there isn't really one particle which is and as a maternity yours. It really is rotated. So that means come back to, in many ways, come back to the drawing board and start again.
I think I'm envious of Squidly. You know, I think that a really good point was made in terms of you not having to undo, you know, years and years of inbuilt infrastructure or, you know, mindset. I know with audiology, audiologists are obsessed with using 100-year-old tech. And they are so reluctant, or people generally are so reluctant to shift. I've got an audiologist, a pediatric audiologist in the US who's coined the phrase beyond the beep, and I love it because, the beep can tell you, if you can hear frequencies, but it can't tell you if you can hear someone speaking in a noisy environment. The limitations of the audiogram are just, are real. And we've been delivering more advanced technology for about 12 years, but getting people to shift with us has been the bigger challenge.
Behaviour change.
Behaviour change. Yeah.
Tell me about the difference in the environments when you take the same product into, say, the clinical environment or into schools. How does that differ to the way you think about the end user?
The origins of Sound Scouts, I had the beauty of having this idea to create a game to test children's hearing, and that was in 2010. So I actually came out of doing an advanced diploma in digital media. My background is not audiology. I'm a TV producer, director for years, and
storyteller.
Yes, a storyteller. So I'm a creative. I guess in high school I did 3-unit maths, chemistry and physics, and I did art and English. And I created havoc for the people doing your schedule, because no one did that combination. Definitely right and left brain. And so when I discovered serious games and the concept of serious games, that was my happy place. So we have this creativity and we have this tool that collects data. I mean, it doesn't get any better. So I saw the potential to create a game to test for hearing, and I was very lucky when I was introduced to the director of the National Acoustic Laboratories, Professor Harvey Dillon. He opened his door, and I think he was he's of the same mindset. And we had a long conversation, and it was the beginning of now a 16-year, collaboration. Back to the question, we were creating a game, and so when we built the first iteration, we went into preschools and we sat with the children and we really play tested. So we were really looking at, that user experience. And if I can just share, I'll try and keep it short. The first, we were using Unity as a gaming engine, and we built it on, a desktop. And so the children had to interact and respond to the audio prompts using a mouse. And what we quickly saw on that very first day was these 4-year-olds could not get the mouse to what we call the target item in time. And so we very quickly saw it wasn't fit for purpose. Luckily, we'd use Unity, so we managed to port to the mobile devices. And what was really entertaining was we had 3 test activities, and in 2 of them they had to touch the items or drag them. Those 2 items, once we ported to mobile, were perfect and showed really good signs. But one of the other activities, they needed to click on a red button, and when they clicked on that button with the mouse, they had that sort of tactile response, and that actually worked really well. When we put it to mobile, it was a disaster, because they didn't have that immediate response. So then it became our challenge to, correct that and make that work and make the response button bigger, and so we did that, and we were fine. But yeah, play testing has really been part of our DNA since day one.
Yeah, great. Shifting to big picture again, Max, I know you have some feelings about the difference between accessibility and inclusion, and particularly, obviously, with the work that you do in travel, how can designers think about the difference of having access? Carolyn gave a kind of good definition there of how things can be accessible, but how can we think about inclusive environments or inclusive design?
Getting access right. If you can afford to do it, it's actually not really that difficult a task, is it really? But the difficult thing is making people feel inclusive. I think that the fact that, say for example, a lot of disabled toilets can use the storerooms. Yeah, I'm sure that other people can think of some examples, but that's the classic one, and that's to do with attitudes. Is that because too often you feel like an outsider, and that is changing, but you do, and that comes back to the mindset of the staff more than anything, and so the mindset of the public. I mean, that for example, another example, accessible parking bays. I think that is beginning to change something we think some kind of pivot point, but it certainly wasn't too long ago before everyone nicked a disabled bay. But and that really does make people like me, other people in wheelchairs and with other mobility impairments feel like second-class citizens. And it is hard enough having to face many different challenges every day. But when on top of that you've got the attitudes and which are really more ingrained, I think, then it's even more challenging.
Yeah, I think it's that feeling of difference or being outside, as you say. Another example I can think of, we were talking about Chris before, was in our team just saying, I've just got to duck to the loo, and we'd gone for like 20 minutes because, of course, the toilet was accessible,
exactly.
And it was so far away, he'd missed like half of the time at the pub just getting to the toilet. So thinking about that as inclusion, about how we're actually just making, the experience of everything that anyone can access, but feeling able to be included in the life.
And even just adding the acoustic experience to that, just thinking about background noise. Someone with a hearing loss is, even with their hearing aids or cochlear implants, are still going to struggle. They're going to have a harder time when there's a high level of background noise. So I know it's cool to have your music playing and go to cool, noisy places, but be conscious that you're going to exclude people when you do that. It's unavoidable on some occasions, but I think, being inclusive as much as we can it is an important thing to do. So, yeah.
That's a good spruik actually for another launcher, a startup, Divergent, who is mapping, just like you have mapped, Max, the accessibility of access getting into places. They're doing the sensory, not only acoustics, but the sensory experience once you get into an environment, so that your comfort level in those in that area, because it really makes a difference. Carolyn, back to gaming, something that is really, you've balanced, I want to know how you've balanced it. You're a medical device, so you need that really boring, hard clinical validation. You need all of the rigor that goes into that with the fun of games.
Yes.
How do you approach that?
So sometimes people say, "Oh, why aren't you free?" And it's like, and I'm sure I don't need to say to the people in the room how expensive software is to develop and maintain. And then when you're a medical device, and we're a Class 2A medical device, and the reason for that is because we're a tool that can be in the hands of the general public. So the public or a non-clinician can use us. So we actually have to have a higher risk rating because people are using us to assess their hearing. So if you're a device that's used just by clinicians, you might actually have a lower rating. So just for your general knowledge, an audit by the TGA it cost us just under $30,000. So that was just the audit, and it was probably around $250,000 of work to get us to the point where we could pass that 3-day audit. So, just a little aside, I think it's always good. The more people know about the journey that we go on as a medical device, the better. Now, what was the question again?
How do you make that fun?
Yeah. So, look, it really all comes back to research and evidence. And so I think when we developed and we had a product where we built, we iterated, we tested, and we were testing against gold standard, like that pure tone assessment. And so, we would test 50 to 100 children, test them with an audiologist, and compare the Sound Scouts results to the gold standard. And then we'd iterate, and the challenge for us was to ensure that nothing within the gameplay was influencing the results. So we had to be really careful about that. So little things like, we had target words. So we do have, one of our tests is a language-based test, language and tone. And so, a word like white, it's actually easier to hear than blue. So then we had to balance those audio files so actually they're both equally easy to hear. One other fun little example, I'm a mother of 3. One of the target items that I put in, I helped choose these items, but I did I used other sort of resources. I'd selected peanut butter. When we looked at the data for the correction rate for peanut butter, it was half of what it should be. And so as a mother, I was quickly able to go, I know why that is. Parents don't give their kids peanut butter anymore because of allergies. And so these 4 or 5-year-olds we're testing, they actually didn't know what peanut butter was. And so that was influencing the results. So we removed that target item and replaced it with something else. So again, the data helped us kind of, really analyze the results, look at what was influencing the outcomes. And then, we published a research paper in the International Journal of Audiology, and that was our first paper. And then subsequently we've been researched by Melbourne University, Macquarie University, National Acoustic Laboratories, so a range of organisations. So evidence, for a medical device is it's inescapable.
Well, I think I would just take that point on the bit release. There aren't anyone release would be surprised to say, hear me say, there is no substitute for the experience at all. And obviously I'm part of the target market for WheelEasy, and although we do corroborate a lot of what we instinctively, what we knew when we designed and built WheelEasy. Although it was so much easier because I was part of the target. Very important.
And Max, tell us about the beginning of the mapping, the city mapping. You didn't get a chance to talk much about that.
No.
That's really incredible, and tell us about trying to work with some of the local councils. Where were the opportunities and the blockers of doing something that sounds pretty logical for really closure.
So I was trying to summarise this. Okay, I mean,
it's a journey.
WheelEasy is the kind of platform which will pay for itself at scale, because when people have lots, they expect lots of information if they can use it. And when they start using it with lots more information, then we can find ways to reduce it to earn income from them. But what we're doing is approaching councils, and because all councils in New South Wales at least are required to meet certain benchmarks that are set for disability inclusion. So we go to all councils and saying to them that if you give us the funding, we will use that funding to put more information on everywhere in your local government area on WheelEasy. And that's what we're doing at the moment. Waverley, Burwood, Fairfield, Newcastle, Canberra, early days.
And how has the engagement been with the councils and thinking about how to make the cities for everyone? I mean, this is the built environment where everyone spends their time.
Yeah, engagement with the council is great. We have been holding volunteer information days, which are generally hosted at council town halls, where we engage the community, where they learn about WheelEasy, learn what to look for, and then go out into the community, mobile phones in hand, and map for us.
What are they looking for when they're mapping? What's some of the instructions that you give them to map?
I'm not being evasive here, but it is really difficult because with our, it's super summarized because we've got many different categories on WheelEasy, and to keep it simple, we've had to have different ratings for different categories. So for example, in a restaurant, a rating would be what's the space up between the tables. On the beach, the rating one of the ratings would be what kind of consistency is the sand. So it's difficult to say.
Yeah, it's unique for the actual environment, depending on the environment. So if anyone's got any ideas about how to scale that when it's so unique, please. This is something that we need. All you brilliant designers out there. I think that's that's something we want to know where, and we certainly have the same from a sensory perspective. Does anyone have any questions for these guys while we've got them?
I've got a mic.
Yes. We're waiting. We've got a mic behind you. Just right there, Ben. Perfect.
Hey, Andy. Just in regard to the accessibility maps, is there any? I know they're a very large company, but is there any conversations with Google around?
Well, there is and there isn't. Google will be amazing, obviously, but to have and things many people to get their basic information on access from Google. There's a little wheel system with it on every listing. But the big problem with Google is that all the information is self-completed by the company or by the place owner. And so therefore it isn't ready rather. It is most of the time reliable, but often sometimes it isn't. Whereas WheelEasy is aiming to be verified by people with experience. Google can't be, but
and ticking a box, Max, that says you're accessible as a restaurant is an indicator of it being.
Yeah, I mean, often the place owner will tick the right box, but it's no guarantee that they're not going to be economical. The truth would say no, and also because they need education. They sometimes think something's accessible when it isn't at all. So almost a lot of businesses will say if they have accessible toilets, will say they have accessible toilets. But I'd say half of accessible toilets aren't big enough for wheelchairs. So in what way is it accessible?
Or as you said before, they could be a storage cupboard. They've got them, but they're a storage cupboard.
Yeah, I guess you can use your Google rating to influence that, whether you have, whether you need accessibility or not.
What would be a barrier to working with a Google or an Apple for the maps?
I think what I've just said, but really very little else. I think, well,
because they're just data gatherers. They're not producers.
Yeah. And I think it's getting their ear. I mean, it's getting, and together they need to be made more, they need to be persuaded that accessibility is important, and more people are demanding that kind of information. So, yeah, go on.
And I think some of the big tech companies, obviously Apple is, has taken hearing, more seriously and have features in their earbuds that are more accessible for people with mild loss. So, I think there are sort of improvements being made, but I would also at the same time challenge everyone in the audience to, if you do see a problem, don't assume that someone else is, addressing it. Here I am, the XTV producer, addressing, access to hearing screening. Across Australia, children have their hearing screened at birth, but across most of the country, there's no hearing screening after birth. And, we're finding at least 1 in 10, roughly, children have hearing issues as they enter school, 1 in 10. So 300,000 kids start school each year, roughly. 30,000 kids have hearing issues. So you hear about the NAPLAN results, that 5% or so are below par. How many of those children can't do well in language because they can't hear? they have no access to that language that's being spoken. So, you know, I have no doubt there's some incredibly creative minds in the audience. I know one in particular, and there's a gentleman out back there, Victor, who's building a wheelchair climbing, a stair climbing wheelchair, and you should definitely reach out to him. He's fascinating. But yeah, I'm sure with the creativity in the room, there's a lot of problems that you can help solve. So don't shy away from them.
Launcher.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, like, what is the, like, stopping you from getting some of these things, particularly for children, built into, like, extras cover and insurance, like having software packages as part of that? I know we want everyone to have access, but, like, just as a way, just if there was part of extras or something like that.
Yeah, it would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm not sure if there's an insurance company I haven't approached. Yeah, the barriers to... you know, I always joke I'm going to write a book at some point. The barriers that I have encountered are extraordinary. So my belief, and I'll try and say this without saying it, but so with hearing assessment, a large percentage of the children with hearing issues, just talking about the children at this point, have glue ear. Glue ear, fluid behind the eardrums, often is treated by surgery. Grommets, little tubes that are put in, lets the air in, dries the ear out. That's a medical procedure. For the majority of people who can't afford private insurance, can't afford to pay for it, that's a cost that falls to the state. It's a surgery. There's no, you know, the long-term consequences of those, you know, children not having access to, you know, to language, you know, loss of income, loss of earnings tax, or if someone was doing the long-term economics, which we did, the argument for screening and addressing the issues, you know, so yes, we all have to, you know, do what we can to make a difference.
Anyone else? Let's close out, Max and Carolyn. We saw that less than half of the room have access. We're just focusing tonight on disability, but I'm sure there are other people that you want to build inclusive solutions for. But how, from your perspective, when teams are small, when they don't have beautiful big accessibility teams like Atlassian does, how, Max, can we try and engage at a lower cost but high impact? What's ways that we can engage people with lived experience to give feedback on some basic features? So we've got some really clever ways now, thanks to Pavel, of thinking about accessibility. As we're saying, that's kind of almost the hygiene factor of just making things that you can access, that kind of tick the boxes. That's really important, and we've kind of getting more confident around that. But thinking about these areas of inclusion and what we can't see. You can't fix or design for things that you can't see or you don't know about. How do we... I'm
happy to jump
people
in.
Yeah.
I think, look, I know there's community groups. I don't know, I just can't think of the name of it, but I know particularly in the Hunter, there's a community group where you can, if you've got an issue and you want to sort of engage with the community, I think it may be around aged care, and so I think there's more of these groups springing up to sort of test and help support development. So that's just one idea. I think things like social media in terms of doing polls and asking questions and just doing that sort of first line, getting some insights from people with lived experience is definitely a great start. And then, going into the community yourself and gathering, information, but also maybe a working group to test out your premises and then, test out your prototypes. So I think it can be sort of a community-driven,
Yeah, I mean, I take with you, I know you know that the community of people with some form of disability is so much bigger than you realise, or something I realise, and maybe you as well. I mean, we've just, well, not just, for a while now. I mean, WheelEasy stands and falls by the strength of bonds with the community that we serve. And so we try and create as big a noise within that community as we can. Maybe not great, but we do try. And so we go to a series of disability expos which are held up and down the coast. And when you do, you to begin to realize how big it is. And a lot of people in that community want to help. Maybe because they see the challenge of not being like everyone else.
Yeah, literally have a vested interest. And it's interesting you say that, Max, as you're saying, the community is actually so large of people who are living with disability. I wonder if we don't see them because our environments are not that inclusive for them to be able. I mean, how many people with disability do you see on the trains? You'll see Oliver getting around on the trains, but it's a real bloody effort. So just because we're not seeing them, there is an invisibility because of the lack of inclusion. So that is something to really think about. We also work with a group just like the one you're talking about in the Hunter called Knowable Me, and they facilitate communities to do testing with as well. So they are there. There's a relative cost to them, but you really are missing out on a great community of very passionate and engaged users for your products, who will advocate and bring in more users as well. So there's great benefit to that. Anything we haven't touched on in all of the here that you want to make sure our design community here take away that they can start tomorrow? Another public service announcement from you, Carol.
We've covered some ground, haven't we? No, I can't think of anything else to add, but stay creative and
Have you got an ask? Have you got an ask? Don't be shy.
My ask would be to think about hearing and consider it in the mix. It is a bit of a hidden disability, and I don't think it's often thought about. So I would just ask you, look at your kids. Do they need a hearing check? Does your mother or your grandmother, raise that issue? And I would just say that more and more research coming out now that if you don't address hearing loss, they're relating it to earlier onset of dementia. So it's really important and should be at the top of our kind of healthcare list.
And can I ask your boss? Can I ask you to ask your bosses to put some clear wayfinding about how to get into this building?
It's true. We have the same challenge. Yeah. Thank you both very much for sharing your experiences. I think closing out to the
Awesome. You don't need to go anywhere. We're done. So huge thanks again for Kath, Carolyn, and Max. Also, Pawel, who happens just
Can't better, have you seen?
You want one?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left it there and
You
I
thirsty?
forgot about it.
Everyone, thank you, Pebble.
I'm so sorry.
Make sure you look up ali.md, download the repo, go to GitHub, to Mark and Nadine at the back, Josh and Kathleen.
We still have alcohol. If you want more booze,
Until we get kicked out by the cleaners, we'll be playing on here and then we'll be going to the Occidental. So thanks for coming to SydDT. Celebrate and spread the word about Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Woo. Man, that's not accessible, that acronym. So that's actually Thursday. Continue the conversation, think about it in all of our daily practice and our work, because that's how all this change actually happens. And thanks again to Remarkable and Atlassian for collaborating with us. Thank you, and see you at our 11th birthday next month. Play on, player.
One thing that wasn't simple, so I think
Yes, yes. And